do you like your commute to work now? Do you enjoy your podcast in the car, or do you hate the blizzards? If your employer offers you a 15% salary increase, would you give up remote work completely? 5 years ago, most people probably would not have hesitated. Today, millions of employees are generally conflicted. For a brief moment during the pandemic, it felt like the meaning of work had fundamentally changed. Millions of employees suddenly proved they could work from home, collaborate digitally, attend meetings virtually, and in many cases remain productive without sitting in a traditional office. What organizations once considered impossible became normal almost overnight. But several years later, companies across the world are attempting to bring employees back into physical workplaces. And the result has become one of the most emotionally charged workplace debates in organizational life. Some organizations have aggressively pushed return to office policies. Amazon has emphasized 5-day office attendance. JP Morgan Chase has publicly called employees back to the office. Meanwhile, a massive 2026 survey of 125,000 US employees found that 72% believed return to office mandates were stealth layoffs intended to reduce headcount without formal terminations or severance costs. At the same time, 73% of knowledge workers reported that they would consider leaving their jobs if forced back to working full-time in offices. What makes this debate so fascinating is that it is no longer simply about workplace location. Instead, it reflects deeper questions about trust, control, fairness, autonomy, organizational identity, and the future of management itself. Where are we now? According to Purdue University's 2026 Workforce Tracking Study, more than half of all remote-capable jobs are now hybrid positions, while only approximately 21% remain fully on-site. However, nearly 30% of organizations report plans to mandate full-time office attendance. This divide also reflects an important generational difference in how work itself is understood. Many senior executives built their careers in environments where visibility mattered. FaceTime, hallway conversations, informal networking, and physical presences were central parts of professional success. Younger employees, especially those who entered the workforce during or after the pandemic, often define productivity very differently. For them, work is measured through outputs and results rather than physical presence. As Professor Sharon Hill from George Washington University described, middle managers are currently in absolute hell, caught between executive pressure to enforce mandates and employee resistance toward those same policies. Employer side, the case for return to the office. From the employer's perspective, return to office policies are often framed as necessary for rebuilding collaboration, innovation, and organizational culture. ResumeBuilder.com reported that 81% of employers believe remote and hybrid work arrangements had made collaboration more difficult. Many executives generally believe innovation suffers when employees are physically separated. Digital meetings often become highly structured and transactional, leaving little room for spontaneous problem solving or relationship building. Executives often argue that innovation is difficult to schedule. Some of the most important organizational ideas emerge accidentally through hallway conversations, quick follow-up discussions after meetings, or informal conversations over coffee. One of the strongest employer arguments concern mentoring and professional socialization, especially for younger workers. Some leaders worry that younger employees are experiencing what could be called the lost apprenticeship. Organizational culture is difficult to fully communicate through scheduled virtual meetings alone. Employees often learn professional norms informally by observing how experienced colleagues behave, communicate, and solve problems. At the same time, remote work has produced a surprising contradiction. Many employees strongly prefer flexibility, yet many simultaneously report increased loneliness, weaker workplace relationship, and lower organizational belongings. Randstad found that 31% of employees had actually left jobs because of insufficient collaboration and social connection rather than excessive collaboration. In other words, employees may want autonomy while still craving mentorship, community, and human interaction. This creates what some researchers call the loneliness paradox of remote work. Employees gain flexibility but may lose belongingness. Another uncomfortable reality is the visibility still influences career advancement. ResumeBuilder.com found that 40% of managers believed office visibility influenced promotions more strongly than objective performance itself. Employees physically present around the senior leaders often gain greater visibility, stronger informal relationships, and more opportunities for mentoring and high-profile assignment. Although organizations increasingly emphasize performance metrics and measurable outcomes, workplace advancement often remain highly relational. From some executives' perspective, they may not actually dislike remote work itself. They may dislike the loss of symbolic power that comes from physically seeing employees. Historically, management has often been associated with visibility, supervision, and physical control of space. Remote work disrupts many of these traditional assumptions. Now, the employee side, the case for flexibility. For many employees, remote work represented far more than a temporary pandemic adjustment. It fundamentally reorganized daily life. Workers relocate closer to family, reduce commuting time, reorganize childcare responsibilities, and gained flexibility that many had never previously experienced. The most striking finding from recent return to office research may be the level of employee distrust surrounding organizational motives. A 2026 study involving 125,000 U.S. employees found that 72% believe return to office mandates were actually stealth layoffs, intended to encourage voluntary resignations rather than formal layoffs. Once employees begin interpreting workplace policies through the lens of distrust, even legitimate organizational decisions become difficult to communicate credibly. Employee resistance has also produced new workplace behaviors. According to CEO World magazine, 46% of employees admitted to engage in coffee badging, briefly entering the office to appear compliant before leaving shortly afterward. Critics increasingly describe the behavior as office theater. Employees prioritize visibility over meaningful collaboration. Ironically, the employees most capable of leaving are often the employees organizations most need to retain. WorkTech Academy reported that organizations with strict mandates experience turnover rate approximately 13 to 14% higher than firms with flexible workplace arrangements. Employee frustration also intensifies when workplace policies appear inconsistent or unequal. Employees increasingly question why flexibility is acceptable for executives and corporate real estate strategy, but not for workers themselves. Who benefits most from flexibility? Flexible work arrangements may disproportionately benefit caregivers, employees with disabilities, workers living far from headquarters, and employees managing significant family responsibilities. At the same time, office-centered cultures may disproportionately reward extroversion, political networking, and physical proximity to leadership. As a result, return to office policies may unintentionally create an equal workforce experience for different groups of employees. Some organizations responding to remote work concerns have introduced digital monitoring systems that track keyboard activities, screenshot, webcam engagement, or mouse movement. This reflects the same underlying trust problem from a different angle. Organizations argue that remote work reduces accountability, yet excessive surveillance may in return undermine psychological safety and employee trust. Workers begin to feel managed by metrics rather than led by relationship. Employees focus on appearing busy rather than producing meaningful outcomes. What this means for HR. For HR professionals, the return to office debate represents far more than a scheduling issue. It reflects a broader transformation in how organizations understand leadership, flexibility, authority, and employee expectations. Artificial intelligence may complicate the return to office debate even further. AI systems increasingly automate scheduling, note-taking, workflow coordination, reporting, and even aspects of managerial oversight. If technology continues to reduce the need for routine coordination, organizations may increasingly ask a new question: what is the office actually for? In the future, physical workplaces may become less important for supervision and task management and more important for creativity, mentoring, relationship building, and human connection. AI may push organizations to emphasize the uniquely human aspects of work rather than routine productivity. The future workplace will likely remain hybrid, flexible, and psychologically complex. The challenge for organizations is no longer simply enforcing attendance. Instead, successful HR leaders must design systems that balance flexibility with coordination, autonomy with accountability, and productivity with belonging. Ultimately, the return to office debate is not truly about office buildings. It's about the evolving relationship between employee and organizations and the future meaning of work itself. Thanks for watching.